Well, the first thing I know parents are concerned about is how will my son or daughter maintain their faith, grow in their faith over time. And it's interesting that that's a real concern to everybody, and yet often we kind of compartmentalize and say, well, that's my one concern over here, but now we're going to go look at, kind of futures and careers and all other kinds of things, and sort of disconnect this from the rest of life, which obviously that doesn't work. So the first thing I would tell you is that you need to have real conversations with your children about real life things. And that sounds maybe trite or obvious, but it may be not so obvious. We talk about a lot of surfacey kind of things. We never get down into what are truly the most motivating, what are the most powerful things in life. And what I found interesting, again, because we're made for truth, when you hear the truth, you usually know it. So even if you want to resist it a little bit, you still know it, when you hear it. And so, I've often talked to groups of people, and I've said to them, what is the most motivating thing to any human being? And you will hear, somebody will yell out money. You'll hear that in an audience. And then I'll hear somebody yell out fame or power or something else, and I'll say, no, I said, none of those things are the most motivating to any human being. I said, the most motivating thing to any human being is love. And everybody kind of rolls their eyes a little bit like, oh yeah, love, love, love. No, that's it. And I said, I'll prove it to you. I'll give you $1 billion and I'll make you president. I don't know if you want to be, but I'll make you president, okay? But the only stipulation to this, the only rule to this is that you got to go live on a deserted island for the rest of your life. Is anybody going to take that deal? Now, there's often a few tired parents in the room who would take a couple of months maybe on the deserted island, but there's nobody going to go to the deserted island forever. Now, wait a second. If money, power, and fame are truly the most motivating things, we would take the deal. Problem is, they're not. Because what's missing on the deserted island are people and the potential for relationships and the potential for love. And that is what we want most. Now, this love thing, though, requires sacrifice. It requires something, giving something of ourselves. That's what love is. It's giving something away you could have kept for yourself. So the reason you got to ask yourself is, well, am I willing to do that? And I could give you this little analogy. Imagine somebody right now that you love so much that you would die for them, okay? Get somebody in your mind, somebody you would die for, okay? Now, I don't know how this happens, but they're up here on the corner of this couch and it suddenly burst into flames. Are you going to run up here and pull them off? Now, most people hesitate and they kind of stare at me. I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling too good if I'm the person up here. Okay, are you going to come up and help this person off? And then I get the full, yes, we're going to come up. Okay. I said, now, when you do it, though, I'm telling you right now, you're going to get your wrist burned right down to the bone. You still going to do it? Yes, I'm hearing yes. Maybe not as enthusiastic, but I'm hearing yes, okay? And I said, okay. I said, now, I pull out a flamethrower, and I burn your wrist right down to the bone. You're going to go nuts. You're going to roll on the ground, come up and attack me, run out into the room, a hallway or someplace. Here's the thing. Same burn, same pain. One you can take, one you can't take. Pain without a purpose is intolerable to human beings. So then you're down to well, then what would be a strong enough purpose to be able to take the pains, the sacrifices that we know, not if you live long enough, they've already come, and there's more coming. So what would give you the strength? What would be a strong enough purpose to be able to take on the sacrifices that will come to you, that have come to you? What would that be? And I'm going to give you my 3 clues. Don't hold me to this. I'm not claiming to be a theologian, but here's my 3 clues. First one is God exists. Now, I think even in the United States, they did some survey. I think New York Times or somebody did one. 98% of people believe in a higher being. Okay, so there's this higher being, God. They believe in God. That means if God exists, then there's automatically got to be a relationship between me and God in some way, whether I do anything about it or not. So the second clue, I've only been given one thing. You've only been given one thing, and now your family, your house, your car, your home, your legs, boom, could be gone in a fraction of a second. You're only left with one thing. How are you going to deal with it? Which is your free will. Now you got to ask yourself, why would God have given you free will? Well, if I said to you in a moment, I'm going to bring somebody in here who's going to tell you, I'm paying them $5,000 a day to say they love you. Okay? Now they walk into the room and they say, I love you. What do you think? Most people say, yeah, right. I mean, I know this person's getting paid $5,000 a day to say it, so it doesn't mean much to me, okay? But what if God walked in right now? I don't know how that happens. God walks into this room. Anybody going to leave? There's nobody going to leave the room. What if God says to you, do you love me? What are you going to say? Yes, of course, right? Some people have said to me, what about the atheist? I said, the atheist thing is all over. I mean, there are no more atheists. God's in the room. So even the atheist, if God says, do you love me? What do you think the atheist is going to say? Probably yes, because he knows the consequence of saying no. So here's the point. The reason we're given free will is so we can have true love. You need to have your free will. You need to truly choose something or someone in order to love. If they put a gun to your head when you get married, it doesn't count, okay? You've got to freely choose somebody. Third clue, not to be morbid, but at some point we're all going to die, okay? Everybody does at some point. Whether you live 100 years or 110 years, whatever it's going to be, we all come to an end in this life. Now, if I asked you, I hate to do this to anybody, but imagine the worst possible pain you could imagine. Just get something in your mind. You don't have to say it out loud what it is. Just have something in your mind, okay? Now, with a movement of your hand, show me a second. So, second. Now I can say, show me half a second. Show me a hundredth of a second. Show me a millionth of a second. I mean, it gets ridiculous because there's no way we could even do a millionth of a second, right? But let's make it ridiculous. Let's make it a billionth of a second. If the pain you just imagined would come and go in a billionth of a second, could you take it? If there was no after effect at all, could you take it? Probably, because you wouldn't even know you had it in a billionth of a second, okay? But now, let's go back to the age thing. Let's say you live to 110 years. Hardly anybody ever does, right? But let's say you live to 110 years. But how long is 110 years in relation to eternity? To all of time, no end. How long is 110 years? It's faster than a billionth of a second. And you just told me you could take the worst possible pain in the world for the billionth of a second. That's your life. God has put us here in His mercy for the shortest period of time. He's only asking one question. Do you love me? And again, we can all give lip service and say yes, but the way we actually know people is by what they do. We watch them. We hope their words match, but in the end, we watch them. So He puts us down. He gives us the life He gives us. He gives us the money He gives us, the family He gives us, the issues we have. And He says, look, I'm going to present you with sacrifices. I'm going to present you with opportunity to love. You don't have to. You've got your free will. But if you take on those sacrifices, basically, when I ask you, do you love me? You're saying yes. If you say no to those sacrifices, you're basically saying no. That's it. And we're like crazy people because we complain about today. We complain about the parking space. We complain about the job, the bill I didn't expect, or something else, instead of just recognizing that God has put us here for the almost shortest possible amount of time just to ask us the one question, do you love me? So your children, that's what they need to know. That's what they're here for, is to answer that one question. Do you love me?